Hello and welcome to this live special of our Clearing podcast. I'm Anusha, and today I'll be putting your questions to our student and staff experts on everything you need to know about clearing. We're coming to you live from our Highfield Campus studio, and today's episode is all about what clearing is, how it works, and how to expect if you're considering this route into university. Whether you beat the grades you were hoping for, it turns out they aren't quite what you had expected, or you're simply rethinking your options, this episode is here to help you understand how clearing works and how it could open doors to different courses and maybe the right course for you. Joining me today is Zeno, who studies mathematics and came to university through clearing. So he will be sharing his first-hand experience and answering your questions about student life, student journeys. We're also joined by Stacey, head of admissions operations, who will be talking to us about the behind the scenes of clearing and explain exactly how it works, what really happens when you apply. We will be with you here live for the next hour. So if you've got any questions, send them in. We're live and ready to answer them. So shall we get started? I'm going to get straight into it and start by asking our panel to introduce themselves. Shall we begin with you, Zeno?
Sure. So I'm Zeno, and I am a first-year mathematics student here who I got in through clearing, with my clearing story being that after unfortunately not making the cut for both my firm and insurance choices, being just one mark off into my insurance, I have managed to go through a relatively painless clearing process to end up at the University of Southampton.
Awesome. And how about you, Stacey?
Well, I didn't come from clearing, so I'm the head of admissions operations here at Southampton. So it's my team, my admissions team, that will would have processed your application and meant that you could come to Southampton. So yeah, we look after the applications during the main cycle, but also during this clearing period as well.
Awesome. Now, I know you kind of touched on this already, but I would love to know exactly what your clearing process looked like. If you could visualize that for everyone that's, viewing this, and also for us, exactly how that clearing process was for you.
Sure. So no one really expects clearing. And so on that 8 a.m. of results day, trying to figure out which university I would have ended up in, it was quite a shock to see that, in fact, both my firm and insurance choices had declined my offer. Mm-hmm. And so I was left in this little bit of sort of state, and I was wondering, how do I find my university? And so I spent the next few days going through clearing stuff. And then when I came to Southampton, all I had to do was just a call, and then I was processed through the system and then got my offer.
Awesome. So it came really full circle for you, yeah? Things is, you don't really expect clearing, which is exactly what you said, but it gets you to a place that you weren't expecting and you're loving it here.
Yes.
Right? And that is exactly the intention of the process. So let's bring it back down to point A, point zero. What exactly is clearing then, Stacey?
So clearing in its kind of purest form is matching applicants to vacant university places. So we are the matchmakers within the university. So yeah, we match people up. So find our applicants the most perfect course for them. So that's pretty much what it is. There's lots of different reasons why you might end up in clearing though. So there's the kind of there's your example, your experience of where you didn't quite meet the grade for your firm or your insurance choice. So that can certainly be a route that we see the majority of students take. But then there's also these people who maybe didn't realise they wanted to go to university before. And so they're just applying for the first time in clearing. We also got those kind of those people who maybe woke up on A-level results morning, or other qualifications were available, woke up on results morning to find that they did better than they expected. So they've got these amazing grades, and actually their perceptions of where the institution they could go to could be significantly different. So there's all different types of reasons that people use clearing. But yeah, so that's...
Yeah, I love how you summarized give a really simplistic version of exactly what clearing is. It is essentially a university version of a matchmaking service. And Stacey here, along with her admissions team, is the matchmaker. But along with that, I love how you touched on different reasons why clearing comes into the picture. And we'll be discussing that through this session particularly. But the number one question that's been asked, and is one of the first ones that I can see up on my iPad as well, is, can I apply to a course through clearing if I don't make my entry requirements?
It's a tricky one. So I would say in main cycle, most definitely put your application in and give it a go. When it comes to clearing, I think if you're really set on that institution, most definitely still put your application in, but just be realistic about the types of, about whether you'll be receiving an offer in principle or not. So the other thing to bear in mind as well is it's not always just about those published grades that you see. It's not just those three. Normally it's expressed in A-level. So it's not just those 3 A-level grades that you see. Pay attention to the subject requirements as well. So I'm sure you would have had an A in maths somewhere along there for your subject requirements. So quite often institutions are more interested in those subject requirements. So if you are smashing it in terms of the subject requirement for the course you want to do, but your overall grades are a little bit off, you never know. They might still accept you. So it's still definitely worth popping in an application.
That's a good way to kind of summarize it. And I feel like that really answers a load of questions for most of the people. I feel like, it kind of summarizes it. When it comes to your experience, when it comes to clearing, what were certain things that you looked out for or you had researched beforehand when it comes to entry requirements for clearing and universities that are doing clearing in general?
So I made sure before A-level results day to take a look at some other clearing universities that I could potentially go to if I didn't get into my thermal insurance. And among that, Southampton was one of them. I made sure to research what the mathematics course is like here, but for whatever course you want to apply for, it's research what that one does, and a clearing especially, to really understand and learn about how that course would be like for you. Because even though you're having to make these decisions in a much smaller span of time than for the main cycle applicants, you still need to make a decision for the next few years.
Absolutely. I mean, you're thinking about your decision for the next 3 or more years, about what your life is going to look like apart from just university. So when you're thinking about entry requirements, you do a whole lot of research beforehand, but the process is meant to be as seamless as possible, even through the clearing process. But one thing that you mentioned was, you researched particularly for mathematics. You were looking particularly for your course, and you weren't willing to kind of budge from that for whatever university you go ahead and apply. So naturally, one big question that arises for most students would be, are there any courses that are not going to be offered in clearing, particularly for University of Southampton? Is that in any way
Any wiggle room?
So
for us, the real courses which aren't available would be our medicine courses. We don't have any of our medicine courses in clearing. Mainly that's because we've already filled our places, but also as you can imagine, if anyone who's ever gone anywhere near the medicine recruitment, it would be too lengthy to operate in clearing. There's also a few courses that we've already got that are closed, but just because of capacity issues. And for us, that would be our healthcare and our health science courses. We've already got enough offer holders, applicants on those courses. Other courses we don't know at the moment because we don't get we haven't had the bulk of the results in yet, so we don't know how well the students have performed. So we don't know how many places that we have available yet. So so at the moment most of our courses have capacity, but that might change in a week's time.
Yeah, I think the best way to kind of understand on results day as well is just going through the website, isn't it?
Yep.
I would love for the two of you to touch on how, just looking at your course, their entry requirements, and the process of clearing in general at the University of Southampton. I know a little bit has been touched on as well, but I feel like reiterating it once again for the viewers, just the process, as clean as possible, step 1, step 2, step 3, would benefit significantly?
For us at the moment, you would find our current clearing entry requirements and our current courses in clearing. If you go on the university website and then do /clearing, you probably also link to it from the homepage. I haven't been on there this morning. I don't know if it's still there. But yes, if you do /clearing, you'll get through all of our clearing vacancy list. And you can see all the current courses we've got listed and also what the entry requirements are. If you already had your A-levels or already had your results, you could click on the Apply Now button and that would take you through to a web form that you can complete. And you can submit your application to Southampton that way. And that's how it will be next Thursday, the 13th of August, when we get the big main results day, the big splash. Yes, that will certainly be all over the homepage. So it'll be very easy to click through. So those clearing vacancies will be there. You have two choices of how you apply. So one, you can either click through and do the web form, or you can ring our clearing hotline. It's absolutely personal preference. Some people like talking to folk and then and the support and the kind of guidance through it, guidance through the process. Other people would much prefer to sit at home and just fill in the form in their own time. And particularly on an emotional day, talking through with someone might feel difficult. So being able to fill the form in yourself and your own time and your own space, sometimes that can feel more comfortable for people. So we offer both options. The outcome is the same. It comes all into the same place, and we apply the same criteria and everything.
So there's no preference as to which one of those two methods, yeah?
It's down to the personal preference. It's completely down to our applicants and how they would prefer. Everybody's different at the end of the day. So it's whatever works for you.
Of course. Now, you've mentioned a whole lot about how easy the process has been made. Let's get a student point of view. Is it really easy? Is clearing difficult? Give us your perspective on how the process was from
last
difficulty
year.
level. Yeah.
So it's definitely not the big scary thing that people may think of it as. And it's not like the absolute last resort option at all nowadays. It was really quite simple to do. You have the clearing hotline, which is you just call a number, and then the hotline is there to guide you through the whole process. And then there's also the forms, having to go through UCAS. I'm sure there's plenty of forms people have had to go through already. So just one more form then.
One more.
There's always forms.
There's always.
But I remember when I was doing it, I never felt like I was under great duress or pressure, even though I had this sort of passion to get my results back because I was one mark off into my insurance university. But I was still pretty cool and collected because the people on the hotline were there to help. The form was a nice, simple thing that I could just tick off and get done. So I found the whole clearing process very efficient and nice.
Yeah, and that is exactly the intention of the clearing team. And it doesn't just go for the University of Southampton. I'm sure I'm speaking for all universities. These teams understand that you're feeling overwhelmed. It's clear, it's, A-level results there, you've gotten your results, either you're choosing to look at different options, one of which we hope is Southampton, or you're just disappointed or things didn't go to plan. So the team understands that, and hence they try to make the process as structured, simple, and kind of simple as possible. Yeah. So we were talking a whole lot about UCAS. So there's one question that boils down when it comes to UCAS in general, and I feel like this is one to be answered by you, Stacey. And that is, what exactly is UCAS Embargo?
The UCAS Embargo, well, that is all to do with the fact that in order for applicants to wake up and log into the UCAS hub at 8 o'clock on Thursday, the 13th of August, and see the outcome to all of their applications, in order for the institutions to be able to do that and provide that level of service, we have to get the exam results early. So we receive, certainly in England, Wales, we receive the results actually this Friday. And obviously that is a very privileged position to be in. So we have to agree and sign up to an embargo period where we cannot not only just walk up to you and go, by the way, you got 3 A's, or by the way, you got BBC. It's also about inferring. We're not allowed to communicate in a way with an applicant that they could infer what their outcome would be. So, for instance, if we suddenly sent you an email on Wednesday to say, congratulations, you've cleared all your conditions, now it's time to book your accommodation, you could infer from that you have been successful. And then what do you do with that information? You might spiral, or, it could probably more and so the other way, but also it has an impact on other people. So we have very strict rules around this period. So from 8 o'clock on Friday morning, all the way through to 8 a.m. on Thursday the 13th. If you won't be able to see anything in your UCAS hub, that will all be shut down. It'll have a holding message up, so you won't be able to see stuff in your portal there. And also, if you ring the lovely admissions teams, it won't just be Southampton, it'll be across the country. We'll be very cagey with you, and we'll be very nervous about what we're saying, because obviously
you're not supposed to.
We can't reveal anything.
You host a lot of secrets, Stacey.
No, the power. So yeah,
awesome.
That's what the embargo is.
Definitely
to protect everyone.
Yeah, it definitely simplifies the term, I feel like, and that's helpful for everyone to know. Another one we've got is what scholarships are available, and I feel like if you could answer that from both two different branches, home students and international students, because a lot of people may be looking at scholarships as an opportunity to get into a university they like and they prefer but can't afford to, but also scholarship opportunities because it will help in general with their student life, and it can really change a student's perspective. So I would love to know if you could answer for both these branches, home and international students.
Yeah, so we do have scholarships available, but there are an awful lot of them, is what I would say. So they have different terms and conditions attached to them. So some are from students from specific countries, some are competitive, some are just based on the grades that you achieve. There's all sorts of different varieties. So it would be hard to give advice now that would cover kind of every eventuality. So probably the best thing I can recommend is if you go onto the website again. I think it's a section called funding your studies, something like that. It splits it out into funding for home students and also funding for international students. And on there, it's got all of the information about all of the scholarships we offer, how much they are, and whether they're for the first year or for every year. It's got all of that detail on there. We will also, as part of the admissions process, those ones that you're kind of automatically entitled to, or we think you might be eligible for, we'll email you as well. There's automatic emails that go out to those students to kind of make them aware. So that's something to be aware of.
Absolutely. And I feel like scholarships in general for students are so important, at least to even look at. Just something to add over here, because it just struck me. So there's an Instagram channel called the UOS International, where our scholarship team, every now and then, they keep on putting out the posts for different countries and their respective scholarships. So it may be something to watch out for if that is something you're looking for in your student experience. But it's definitely helpful that you've given us both kind of a perspective from home and international students, as I know it's of great importance. Overall, if you've just recently joined in this live, we are currently live from Highfield Campus studio talking all things clearing with Zeno, who studies mathematics here at the university and came through clearing, and with Stacey, who's head of admissions operations. So we've got the student perspective and the operations perspective. So you may be able to get your questions answered from both realms. One that I have specifically for you, Zeno, when it comes to like the clearing process in general, whoopsie daisy, is can we apply directly for clearing, or do we go through UCAS? What was your process like? And how did you go about it? And then we'll get Stacey's input as well.
So the process is to first go and contact the university.
Yeah.
So when clearing happens, you can't go directly through UCAS and apply to clearing. You have to first go through university and then get their permission, get their offer in principle, which is a fancy way of just saying they will give you the offer if you put it through on UCAS first. So once you have that written confirmation, you can then go to UCAS and then you can add a clearing option, which you can only do once unless you want to go through the whole process of withdrawing and going again. And that's when you actually select either University of Southampton or your other clearing university. You can put that down as an option, and then that gets confirmed by the university because they've given you the offer in principle.
Got it. Was that correct?
I think you should come and work with us. Spot on.
Spot on. Perfect. Well, let's look at things, because in so many different cases, you've got loads of different universities up on UCAS, and you get to pick firm and insurance on UCAS. Yes. So imagine if Southampton is an insurance choice for students. How does accommodation work then?
Accommodation for insurance.
Yes.
So if they're already holding an insurance offer,
no. What if Southampton as the insurance choice is their choice? Like, this is exactly what I'm reading out here.
Okay, so they've dropped to Southampton as their insurance choice.
Let me read it out. If Southampton... Whoopsie daisy. Okay.
Live.
If Southampton is my insurance choice, how does accommodation work?
So you can still apply for accommodation.
Yeah.
So you can apply for accommodation even if you're an insurance person. If you're holding an insurance offer, that's still fine to apply for accommodation. And then if you don't meet the terms of your firm choice, you'll automatically sort of bump down to your insurance. And then you become firm with Southampton if you're your insurance choice, and then your clearing application is still there. I don't know if, I think the...
I've got a Teams answer here as well. So
is it? Am I doing all right?
I think so. I may just be reiterating exactly what you said, but I've got a Teams answer right here. So the answer is, it depends. If Southampton is a student's insurance choice and they applied before the 1st of July deadline, they will be then covered by our accommodation guarantee if they choose to study with us. If they applied after the deadline, it would depend upon availability. For clearing specifically, we would encourage you to check your offer and apply before clearing deadlines. It is first come, first serve at the end of the day. So we do also have places in our halls and partner halls. So it's definitely helpful to look into, especially if you're going through clearing, definitely look at your deadlines, make sure you're researching and checking that. And also on the standby, whilst you're waiting for an answer, have a look at the private halls, have a look at private accommodation, private houses in the city. There's loads to choose from. Of course, a lot of students do prefer university halls purely because of the benefits that they come with when it comes to bus pass, laundry, free laundry, and just the idea of socializing with just University of Southampton students. But it's definitely a good idea to have a look at private halls as well. So that's one recommendation. Another question I've got over here is particularly about changing minds. So like you mentioned, insurance choice firms.
Yeah.
What if a student changes their mind and doesn't want to go any places that they've been offered? What then?
So if they are already firm, say you've put somewhere else as firm, but you and Southampton is your insurance, or anywhere's your insurance. If you decide that you want Southampton to now be your firm, sadly, the deadline to make that, they call it a reply swap, that date has already passed. It was in July. So now, if you had Southampton as your insurance choice now, it would depend if you meet your offer.
Understood.
It's more about the reply swaps that I'm talking about is if you decide you want your firm instead of your insurance. If you get confirmed by your firm and you still want to come to Southampton, that's when you would need to
Call up clearing?
go through clearing. Yes, you'd have to then confirm, get a place through clearing at Southampton, withdraw yourself from decline your offer with your firm, and then come back to Southampton. So
Understood.
I talked myself in a big circle then, didn't I?
No, but we were discussing earlier, weren't we, about the idea of, because you had both firm and insurance for some other universities, and then once you came to Southampton, you imagined yourself as a student over there, and it just didn't fit right. So if you could go back, you were considering the idea of, if you had gotten those two offers, how do I get into Southampton? How did I get into Southampton or any other such universities then? So when it comes to that question, what's your perspective on this?
I think that it's perfectly natural for people to realize that what they put down as their firm and insurance is not actually the place they want to be. Because university is a big dedication. It's 3 years and lots of money having to go into it. And so changing your mind to go to a different university is going to be maybe happening to some people. And I know I was one of those people who realize now that being at Southampton is actually the better of the options compared to what I had before. And so in that case, with choosing to decline your firm or decline your insurance, and then apply to Southampton and clearing, that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do.
So this was something that I'm guessing this was a thought you had during results day. So if you could kind of rewind back to results day, could you tell us exactly how you felt that day? Did your family or supporters help in any way in terms of clearing? Tell us the emotional behind
The play-by-play.
scenes. Yeah, exactly.
So, 8 a.m. results day, sitting there anxiously waiting for UCAS to update. It takes a while. Sometimes it doesn't update 8 o'clock on the dot, by the way, because you just have thousands of people waiting at that time. And then when it updates, then it realized that I have 0 university lined up so far. There was this bit of paralysis, and both in my family as well, just wondering that, oh, wait a minute, you don't have
What
a
now?
university now. Everyone else has, but not me so far. And so it was a bit frantic at first, but then as I've said before, that it's you get through it. Southampton's very easy to go through the system. The online form helps a lot. And then once you have your offer in principle and you put that on UCAS, then suddenly it all just feels much more relaxed, and you're happy that you're at the place that you've wanted to be at.
Very naturally, I believe results day is expected to be a roller coaster of emotions. You go
Yes.
from, oh no, what's happened? Panic mode. Okay, fine, we're calm. Solution 2, and then everything falls into place eventually. So I
Yes.
think that's exactly what clearing process in general is expected to be. So I feel like, okay, let's put clearing aside for a moment. Let's talk about all things studying at Southampton, because you weren't expecting this at all. You had a very different life imagined, very different life visualized for yourself, especially when it comes to university, and then things turned around. So I would love to know your perspective on what's studying at University of Southampton been like.
It's it's been an amazing time in here for me. First year, I do have that kind of bias of this is my only university I've been to,
Yeah.
but for certain, university is the place for me. And I really enjoy being here, learning in depth about my course, making really good friends, which will probably be for life. Of
course.
And also engaging in societies and talks and all these things that happen at university. I'm just so happy to be here. And if it wasn't for clearing, then I would have had to spend an entire year in a gap year waiting for another admission cycle.
Of course. So I feel like studying at Southampton, I get very nostalgic and emotional talking about it. I've just graduated, so I know this kind of chapter for me has come to a close. But from talking about it general, it makes me feel like, okay, yeah, clearing in general, things do fall into place. And University of Southampton, personally, for me, was a great pick because I got all things kind of ticked off my box. But naturally, when you're coming in, when it's first year of university, it is a very naturally an overwhelming process, an overwhelming feeling. And it's something someone's mentioned as well. So do we have any advice for that?
For
How-
the first few weeks of university.
How do we shake off the overwhelming feeling, the anxious feeling? What's one way you did this? And what's one kind of niche out of the box advice you would give to a person that may be considering?
I don't think there's an exact way to get rid of all this anxiety and anxiousness that might happen when going to university, because it's this big of great change. You're most likely moving from home. You're having to learn to live by yourself, make a bunch of friends, and engage with a course which is dedicated to just one subject or two subjects if you're doing joint honors. rather than the 3 or 4 that you might have had at A levels. And so it's certainly like there are ways to deal with it, and the way to deal with it is to just enjoy the moments, enjoy the thrill of being in Freshers Week, exploring all these things. And the one bit of advice I'll give is just give it a go.
Yeah.
Just try things. If you seem like you'll like it, then you should give it a try. And then the worst thing that happens is nothing comes from it. But that's my one big advice. Just try things, and then you'll realize how much there is to do at university.
Yeah. I think the number one thing that I kept on reminding myself when I was coming to university, and one advice I would give that really kind of shakes off that overwhelming feeling, is everyone's in the same boat. Everyone's feeling exactly what you're feeling. So you're not going to embarrass yourself if you go say hi to someone. If you're not going to feel, they're not going to feel embarrassed or questionable if you come say hi to them. They're here to make friends. They're here to socialize. They're here to build a life of their own as well. So I think it's very important to remember that the university creates this environment for you to shake off this feeling and to just be a different person altogether. So there's 400 societies for a reason, for you to experiment whether water sports is your thing, or fencing is your thing, or doing salsa is your thing, or just sticking to what you are comfortable with is your thing. And I think that is the number one advice I think I will take with me as well for my future, and for anyone that's planning to come as well. Just do it if you feel like it. And number 2 is everyone's in the same boat. There's no reason to feel anxious or embarrassed. So when it goes down to enrollment and getting offers, I feel like this one would be for you, Stacey. When can one expect enrollment to start in general?
Enrollment?
For people coming in university, people coming in.
So starting the actual course?
Yes.
Yes. So it starts in September.
That differs according to your course, isn't it?
It does. It can change depending on your course. But the majority, we've bought the week ahead this year. So I think it's around, I don't know the calendar in my head, it's around the 13th or 14th of...
Yeah, the Freshers Week starts on the 14th.
Yeah, 14th of September. So, so that's when Freshers Week is. There might be a little bit before that for our international students. We have like they have a separate international kind of settling in period. So that's normally a little bit before that, but...
Okay. And could we also talk about, so you mentioned international, you mentioned loads of different courses. Actually, let's talk about Winchester School of Art for a second. Let's talk about the students that come for fashion degrees or games design degrees or arts degrees to Winchester, and all they can expect from the city, from the university campus over there, and if there's anything different for clearing for them particularly, how does that work?
Yeah, so clearing is a little bit different for someone applying to Winchester School of Art. It's still part of Southampton, but it's a beautiful campus in its own right, and the city is lovely. It's one of my favourite places. It's very picturesque. You can take lots of lovely pictures. But in terms of their actual application process when it comes to clearing, as you would expect, to study a creative course like that, we need to assess the level of your creative prowess, as it were. So there is often, for most of the courses, there is a portfolio review element of the application. So what that will look like in terms of clearing is that you'd submit the application via the phone or via the form, whichever way is preferable to you. Then you wouldn't do anything different from there. So it would be a case of the team reviewing it, screening it for the grades, making sure that it was kind of the right level academically. For those that they would then get invited, those applicants would be invited to submit a portfolio for review, a digital portfolio. That portfolio would then be sent on to an academic selector who can look through that work, make sure it's a good fit for the course and that they're happy with the level that the student is working at. And from there, they would recommend an outcome and we would process the offer or the decision accordingly.
Awesome. So it's really interesting to know that every single course would have such differing ways of just admission processes in it. I feel like that's really interesting in general, especially for Winchester School of Art, where portfolio would be involved. But yeah, for anyone that's just recently joined the live, I would love, we are currently live, Highfield Campus studio, and we're talking all things clearing, except for right now, we're talking all things Winchester for just a few minutes. We're currently with Zeno, who is studying mathematics at the University of Southampton and has come here through the process of clearing. And we're with who I like to call the matchmaker of the matchmaking service, which is the clearing process, Stacey, who's the head of admissions operations. So we were talking about Winchester. I would love to add something to Winchester, the discussion in general, which is all about the city. I, since the past 3 years, was a Southampton student, as in I lived in Southampton. But for me, Winchester was often day trips that I would take down either for a University of Southampton student ambassador shift or just to go with my friends because it's a beautiful place to be. It's one of the tourist cities. You have a gorgeous cathedral where if you get graduated, those are awesome pictures you'd get. And there are beautiful cafes, cute cafes, cozy places to be, and just an awesome university really specialized in what they do. So that's Winchester for you. And let's now deviate back to kind of the clearing questions. I've got a few more up on my iPad. We have about 20 minutes left of this session, so please keep sending those questions through, and hopefully we'll be able to answer, if not most of them, if not all. So yeah, you were talking about portfolio requirements for particular certain degrees at Winchester. If that is a requirement, that's a minimum requirement for certain courses in Winchester. Are there any minimum entry requirements for courses coming through clearing in general?
Yep, so all of the courses will have an entry requirement attached to them. Most of them are just academic requirements. I say just academic requirements. Most of them are academic requirements. If you're an international student, you might have an English language requirement on there as well. Other courses, like art for the portfolio or music, there might be an audition involved in that. Health sciences courses, as you'd imagine, they have an interview because we need to make sure that we've got the right type of person on those courses. All of that information is captured on those clearing web pages, so there shouldn't be a nasty surprise come through if you've done your research, because you should, when you're looking at the course entry requirements, you should be able to see quite clearly on there what those requirements are, and that you're not going to suddenly need to produce an entire portfolio from scratch. It's unlikely if you're looking to do an art and design course anyway, but yeah, so you shouldn't have any nasty surprises. Just make sure you read what's on the website well.
Of course, research is information at the end of the day. And you mentioned certain courses like health sciences, engineering, those that require those critical academic subjects, requirements. But a lot of these are also eligible for foundation years, right?
A lot of the engineering courses are, I think a common misconception with our foundation years, our engineering foundation year, is that it's for students who've done who've just missed the grades. And for some foundation years out there, that's what they're designed for, but that's not what the foundation year at Southampton is designed for. It's actually a conversion course. So it's if you've not studied the right subject. So actually, for some of them, if you've got maths and physics, you're not eligible for the foundation degree. So you have to read very carefully about the details about it. It's a fantastic programme, and it offers many students a route into those subject areas. But they're not for everyone. So it's kind of a common misconception that we come across. For our international applicants as well, we do have a partner institution called On Campus Southampton. So we partner up with On Campus, and we have a campus on the city centre with them. And that is a route in often to many of our degree programmes for international students. And that's, again, because they haven't got quite the right subject areas, or their qualifications in their home countries don't quite get them to the level that's required for UK study. So it kind of bridges that gap.
Got it. So when you say this is kind of the route an engineering degree process would look like, what foundation years are accepted by the University of Southampton?
There are
Loads.
Loads and loads.
Give us a few names that you can
So
think
we've
of.
got the ones. So we do accept art and design ones. So it's quite common to do an art foundation. Yeah, it's kind of where you just focus in on art and you kind of hone your skills and your background and your talents. That's quite common. We also have many links with international, based in the UK, but foundation providers there. The best thing to do if you have a foundation year is to contact our admissions team to be able to talk through exactly what you've got, because certain providers, we know all about them already and we've already got their syllabus matched to ours. We know what the requirements are. We know whether we're going to be able to accept them. And so that's a really quick decision for us. Others, we might not have heard them before. There's new ones coming up all the time. So the best thing to do is chat to the team so that they can have a look at the qualification. If you've got a transcript or a syllabus, even better, share that with them, because it will make it a lot quicker to assess what kind of level your foundation is and what the requirement might be.
Right. All right. This one's going to be for you, Zeno. We've got loads of questions coming up. I can see my sheet going, it is buzzing with loads of different questions. So I'm really excited that this conversation's, I'm sure, been very helpful for loads of different people. So if you've just tuned in, we're talking all things clearing. But this time, I'm just actually going to ask a little bit about accommodation as well, because I know that is a very big question. It causes a lot of curiosity for loads of students, especially those that are coming to Southampton. So I've got the answer from my team over here, but I'm actually curious about your perspective. If a student is accepted through clearing, which you were, Zeno, what date do you move into your accommodation?
The dates.
Yeah.
So I moved in on the weekend before Freshers Week started. So on the university website, I'll tell you the exact date you can move into your accommodation.
Yeah.
Though for most different ones, it'll be on that weekend before Freshers Week. So that's the weekend, the 12th, 13th before the Freshers Week starts. For some accommodation, it's before.
Yeah, okay. I've got an answer from my team as well that kind of summarizes a little bit of what you've said. So it depends upon the site. So the bigger the accommodation, the more varied the dates are. So it depends on the site, but our main move-in/contract start dates are between Thursday, 10th of September and Sunday, 13th of September. So that hopefully gives you a little bit of a answer. But Glenayre and Mayflowers have arrivals Thursdays to Sundays. Wessex and Gateway is from Friday to Sunday, so that's the weekend, and all of the sites will be on the weekend. International meet and greet runs on these dates as well, exception of the Saturday. So for anyone that's curious about what this international meet and greet is, if you have booked halls of residences and are flying in to the UK, to particularly Southampton, then there is international meet and greet services, buses and coaches that the university books to pick you up from either Gatwick, Heathrow, and there's loads of different criterias or airport options, and they drop you off straight at your halls of residence in Southampton, which makes your travel logistics a lot easier to manage and a lot more of a seamless process. So I think that's definitely helpful to know. So going back to clearing, going back to the results day, on 13th of August, is the clearing hotline too busy? Is there anything to keep in mind regarding this date when it comes to clearing hotline in general?
Yeah, so I mean, the way the system is designed, as you say, like 8 o'clock, everybody is primed, aren't they, to be absolutely watching, waiting for UCAS to update. And the problem is with having everyone poised at that exact time, it means all of their behaviour happens at the same time as well. So everybody is operating and doing exactly the same things in that small window of time. We universities are geared up for that. We know what's going to happen. We know between 8 and 11 is going to be our absolutely busiest time. So we've already expanded all of our phone lines and people, reviewing web forms and everything else. We've already expanded and invested in that as much as we can to make sure that we're helping as many students as possible during that super busy time. But I think it's just being mindful that you maybe won't get the most instant response in that time frame, because we've got literally hundreds of calls coming in every minute, and the same with web forms as well. So during that absolute crunch point, I would still expect you to be not in hour-long queues or anything like that. It should be much quicker, because, as I say, we've staffed up accordingly. But just bear in mind that is the really, really busy time there, and responses and getting through and everything will be quicker later. But obviously the risk then is that the places won't be available by that point. So it's a really tricky system, and it's a really tricky balance in that respect, because, as I say, behaviours have been coordinated in that way. But I think just be patient, just make sure that you stay in those queues if you're calling, or if you're submitting a web form, just be patient. Make sure silly things that we find, actually, people in their haste, if they're doing a web form,
they've put in wrong information.
They put the wrong email address in. We have a whole internal process to fix that. It's that much of a problem. So people do that. And also but it's not isolated to just the web forms, it's on the phone lines as well. Because in a busy, noisy environment, a B sounds very much like a D, and an S and an F. So I've got phonetic alphabets coming out of my ears at the moment. See, you're realising all of this now, aren't you?
Yeah. Remembering.
There's a lot to this. So, so we have to, as much as we can. So my point of being there, obviously, that if you find that you've submitted a form and you really haven't had a response, and you think it's been a while and you probably should have had something. Likewise, if you've been on a phone call, every single time that form gets put through for you, even if the person on the line can't make a decision on it, you should still get an email which says your application has been referred to the admissions team for a review. So if you haven't received that within, an hour, it's probably that it's either in your junk, it's gone to your spam, so check there, or it is that there's some kind of problem with your email address. So it's always worth checking back in again to make sure, because we don't just snub people deliberately. Sometimes we're there trying to work out, and sometimes it's obvious if someone's name is, I don't know, John, and they've put job or something. It's quite obvious, and we can just correct it.
Job Smith.
So, but yeah, there's a whole internal process. It sounds ridiculous, but it's true.
It's true.
Every year.
Yeah, every year. And it's you just mentioned when you were talking about the clearing process, and you're like, you're able to remember that process, aren't you? And he was able to connect the dots.
Yeah.
I find it so fascinating, that experience kind of, just connects in some way. And then 1 year down the line, you're on the same two couches talking about them. So let's go back to that very day for you. The results day when you were calling the hotline.
Yeah.
What's one advice you would give to someone who may be overwhelmed from this process? What's like the process they should go for when it comes to clearing for the University of Southampton? Should they go through what would you recommend they do? Should they be calm? Should they call after a certain few hours? Just your put further.
Those getting into the firm and insurance choice of your university, it can affect people in so many different ways. Some people might just take that in their stride. Some people are hoping for that. And then there might be some people who are just utterly distraught. And all these feelings can happen. And so I would say, I'm not going to tell you to gloss over to, just be calm or something like that. But to instead, you can take a rest on that day. As you were saying, Stacey, there are already hundreds of calls going in. And if you're really, really wanting to do it, well, there's the online form. That thing can be done off the spot.
Yeah.
And then you can always call later.
Yeah.
But the main thing is to keep cool about it, because at the end of the day, as long as you can get the energy back sooner rather than later and get yourself ready to consider clearing at Southampton or clearing elsewhere, that's the step you need.
I love how concise your answer was. It just kind of picked out all the bullet points, and you've answered like 3 questions I have over here in my list. But yeah, someone's asked, is a web form quicker than calling? You've answered, yes, it's quicker than waiting on the queue, sure. I might give you an answer a little bit quicker, but that certainty that you expect from a human. So it really does depend, doesn't it?
It really does depend. It depends what you want from that interaction. So whether you want the reassurance of, I've spoken to a human, so it's actually there and it's been done, or if you need someone to like talk you through because you're feeling a bit fragile. But likewise, if you're feeling a bit fragile and you don't want to talk to anyone, or you just don't like talking to people particularly, you get nervous on the phone, like loads of people do, it's fine. It's the thing. Then fill in the web form. Depending on what time of the day it is, like first thing, web forms is probably quicker, to be honest, because everybody goes straight to the phone. And then, particularly with parents as well, we'll go, ring them, speak to someone. And so, so sometimes that can ramp up the call queues. Whereas I've seen it before when we've had the web forms, and I'm obviously wandering around, prowling, make sure everyone's okay. And they're fighting over who's going to get the web form because they're so keen to get in there and make a decision and like do that first one and make, everyone's so pumped up, ready to go that they're kind of fighting over who's going to get the first
web form.
Yeah. So it's, it varies. But yeah.
And can a student do both web form and call? What do you advise? That's also one of the questions that's been asked. I know you did that, didn't you? For clearing?
Yeah, I sent out the form and then called later. Yeah. That's what I did.
So you can absolutely do that. And loads of people do it. The only thing I would say is you're doubling our work.
Oh, gosh.
So you're
They're busy enough.
Apologies, I guess.
So you're slowing us down in that respect because your inquiry will be handled twice and then you'll get the same outcome twice but from two different people. And it's just a bit haphazard the way it happens. But people do it and we'll never stop people doing it. So you do you at the end of the day. If it makes you feel better and having that certainty of like, I've submitted the form, but oh God, no, I'm getting a little bit anxious. You can ring as well. It's fine. You can, but you can only add one clearing choice at the end of the day. So, but yeah.
Awesome. Well, if you are confused about what gibberish these three are talking about on the couch, you are currently watching us live from Highfield Campus studio, talking all things clearing. We've got about 8 minutes left of this session, so just a little bit of time before we wrap up. But please remember, you can still watch this video as it would go live up on YouTube. You can scroll back, watch Stacey talk about different things about clearing, or what Zeno talk about his experience in Southampton, whatever you'd like. And right now we are going to be discussing grades. Do grades tend to drop on results day, Stacey? And how much of a difference will there be to the published requirements? Because I feel like this is a common question that's been asked amongst the students, so it's definitely helpful to know the behind the scenes perspective.
Yeah, so we already have grades out at the moment because we're technically in early clearing. So clearing actually opened on the 2nd of July this year. So because international students quite often get their results much earlier. The IB came out shortly after that. It was kind of like the 4th or the 5th, I think. So clearing has already been open a month in a very sort of compact way. So we already have a series of grades published on the website. You will always find that clearing grades for most institutions are lower than
the published
grades. Yeah, like the standard requirements that we're operating in throughout the entire year. And the reason for that is primarily by that point in the cycle, we know how many applications we've got. We know how many students have met the grades. So we know how much space we have. And if we go back to the original kind of question you asked me about, what is clearing? It's a way for finding applicants to fill vacant university places. So by that point in the cycle, we know how many spaces we've got. So so that's why the grades are lowered. Whether they will go lower than we've currently got published for clearing, I don't know, because I don't know how well the students did in their A-levels, for instance. So I'll find out on Friday. But I won't tell anyone.
That's the UCAS embargo for you.
Embargoed, yes. But yeah, we'll find out on Friday.
Yeah, but I feel like this is very helpful for those especially that have put in their firm and insurance or waiting for an answer. But at the same time, some part of their heart's like, I wish I got into that uni or I had those kind of grades. In that case, even if you did get firm and insurance, and correct me if I'm wrong, on the results day, and you're keen to look into possibly going to a different university for a different course, for a particular course, you can definitely look at the clearing requirements then and see if you match those.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
But just make sure. So we always get people who apply to us and we're like, well, you're holding an offer elsewhere. We can see you're holding an offer elsewhere. But ultimately, it's their choice. They've got to go where they're going to feel most happy, right? So we would still consider their application. So we'd welcome, applications from applicants who might want to study here that are holding offers elsewhere. But obviously, the one advice that I would really give to people is just because you've decided you don't want to, at this point, don't want to go to that firm or insurance, don't go releasing yourself from that offer until you've got in writing the offer from the institution you do want to go to, because otherwise you can end up with absolutely nothing. So the process always has to be, yay, I got in here. Oh, but actually I quite like that. Maybe I'll apply for them, get that offer, and then say to the original, actually, I'm going to decline my place because I'm going to go here instead.
Fair. And you mentioned that you get loads of calls on, 8 a.m., 13th of August. In that case, can the form be done before the 13th to save time on the day?
So if you did it now, one of the first questions the form will ask you will sadly be, have you got your grades yet? And if you say, no, sorry, you can register your interest still. So what it will do is it will ping you a message and alert you once the clearing form goes live. So you could kind of get a little head that way. So that's good. I think the form normally goes live about half an hour before. So I would say start checking about 7:30 and you'll probably see then. But the difficulty is going to be if you don't get your grades till 8 o'clock,
then
you might not. Mind you, some schools get them earlier, don't they? Schools and colleges. You see them on the news opening it. So if you've got your grades by that point, by all means, you can fill in the form early. But it will always come a cropper if you haven't got your grades.
And I understand that we're running short of time, but I feel like this would be an important one to answer. But is there, because I'm sure loads of students call your team up on the hotline time, and you asked for information that we're like, oh, yes, 1 second, let me check. And that extends that time frame. So is there anything that they should come prepared with before that call? And what could those baseline things be?
So really simple thing. UCAS ID, if you've got that. If you're already in the UCAS system, let's make sure you've got that with you, because that just makes life easier for us in the long run. And it's one of the questions you're generally asked. Sounds really daft, but details of what A-levels you've got or what qualification you've got. Like if you've done a BTEC, we need to know what type of BTEC it is, because that's important. There's so many different types. So you need to tell us which one it is, because actually otherwise we can't make a decision on your application. I think that's it. If you're an international student, having your English language, you'd have done an English language test, hopefully by that point anyway. Having the test reference number is super helpful. Because then it means that when the team come to actually processing once you've added, say, Southampton as your clearing choice, they can just go in and verify your English language test without any bother. So things like that is really useful to have to hand.
Yeah, well, we're nearing the end of the session, so we just got time for about one last question that I'm going to actually ask you, Zeno, if that's okay. Now that you're here, how do you think clearing has affected you? Has the experience really made a huge impact since you arrived, or was it back to normal once the clearing offer came through?
So while I was still going through the clearing process and getting that Southampton offer, I mean, the difference is between going to university and not going to university. it's a massive difference. And so I'm so glad that Southampton here had the option for clearing, as well as clearing in general just existing, so that I could actually go to university, despite just being 1 mark off. But,
I still feel like you're quite bitter about that.
I'm always going to be bitter about it. Some things stay with you. But now I'm at Southampton, I have no need to regret that anymore.
Yeah, well, if the viewers are taking one thing from this podcast is that Zeno missed by 1 mark off.
Okay.
But yeah, if there's, what do we have? Just one final and any top tips for clearing for University of Southampton students? Quick, come on.
Top tips clearing is do it quickly. It's the first come, first served. Make sure that you take care of yourself as well. So take care of yourself, then take care of the university. And then once you're enrolled, it's as if you never had to go through it in the first place.
Awesome. Well, that is all we have time for today's live episode. Thank you so much, Stacey and Zeno, for joining us. It's great to chat about clearing in this way and hopefully answer some of your key questions. We hope everything goes well for results day and you all find your perfect spot at university. In the meantime, if you have any other questions, do drop them in the comments and we will aim to answer them following this session. And with that, I bid you goodbye.